Hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the Movie Files on the Till the Last Credit YouTube channel. This week, I want to talk to you about something that really doesn't get a lot of attention, and that is the undeniable acting ability of Elvis Presley. Now, Elvis, obviously, his legacy is in music, and nobody will ever deny Elvis's contribution to modern rock and roll. That said, few people really understand just how really talented of an actor Elvis Presley was. And I think mostly that's because the movies he made weren't all that good. Elvis Presley movies are very formula and very standard and very most all the same, to the point where it's almost a genre unto itself. Elvis movie is pretty much its own genre. Now, you've got the bulk of Elvis's movies in which he plays the same character in every movie, usually some run-of-the-mill, blue-collar guy who's trying to engage in some get-rich scheme. And then after he got out of the army, a lot of the times he was a veteran, just getting out of the military, trying to get rich quick. These movies include Easy Come, Easy Go, GI Blues, Viva Las Vegas is probably the most popular and probably the best quality of these formula, quote-unquote, Elvis movies, but scattered throughout, buried almost deep down, is a treasure trove of about 5 or 6 really phenomenal movies, and Elvis is really phenomenal in them, especially his first 3 movies. His first 3 movies, Love Me Tender, Loving You, and Jailhouse Rock, are probably among the top 3 Elvis movies in all of his movie career. Now, there are also really good movies later on in his career. Charo was a really great movie in which he sings not a single song in that movie. He sings the opening theme over the main titles, but the character that Elvis plays, Jess Wade, doesn't sing a single song. And he really started the "I grew a beard, so you have to take me seriously" trend in that movie, because he does wear a beard in that movie. Now, Change of Habit is another good one. And again, he sings a couple of songs, but it's not a musical. The once or twice that he does sing, it makes sense within the context of the film. Like, there's one scene where he's playing guitar and singing for some friends at a party. And that's only, I think he sings 2 songs maybe through that whole movie. But the underlying story of that film and Elvis's performance, and which incidentally was his final film, is just really, really good. Now, Elvis wanted to be an actor more than he wanted to be a rock star. If in 1954 you had given Elvis Aladdin's lamp and he was able to wish for his dream career, it would have been as a movie star and not as a musician. And we honestly may never have gotten Elvis as the first quote-unquote rock star. Now, of course, that would have been filled. That role would have been filled. Rock and roll music was happening around Elvis, not because of Elvis. Elvis just happened to step up and spearhead rock and roll. Getting back to my original point, Elvis wanted first and foremost to be a movie star. And when he first got in league with Colonel Tom Parker, who became his manager, that was the first thing he said was, "I want you to get me into movies. I want to be in movies." And Elvis had dreams. There were several films that Elvis wanted to do and could have gotten and was offered even, but the Colonel wouldn't let him do that. The Colonel wouldn't let him do those movies. And that's unfortunate, because I think had he been allowed to do some of the movies he really wanted, really passionately wanted to do, we would be thinking of Elvis as an actor completely different than we do now. One of the films that he wanted to do was A Star is Born, which I believe eventually went to Chris Christopherson. but that was going to be Elvis in A Star Is Born. And I think Elvis would have been fantastic in that part. Getting back to some of the movies that he did make, some of them are just absolutely phenomenal if you really take the time to watch them. My personal favorite Elvis movie is Jailhouse Rock. Now, Jailhouse Rock and Loving You is the same way. They are both very almost semi-autobiographical. They are movies about Elvis himself, and that might be why his performance stands out as just so natural and just so really good in those movies, is because he's really essentially playing himself. In Loving You, he plays a local yokel named Deke Rivers, who gets discovered, becomes, a huge rock star, and really takes rock and roll to the masses, which was exactly what Elvis did. In Jailhouse Rock, it's kind of the same thing. He's a blue-collar guy, gets into a bar fight, accidentally kills a man in the bar fight with his bare hands, goes to jail. While in jail, he learns about music, learns about playing music, comes out, becomes a huge rock star. So those are very much the story of Elvis, with these little twists, like, Elvis never went to jail. If you sit down and watch Jailhouse Rock is just such a really, and even Loving You as well, they're just really good stories. They're movies that you can sit down and forget that they're Elvis movies, because they're not. They're just movies that happen to have Elvis in them. In fact, they came before the advent of the Hal Wallace Elvis movie. But I would really encourage everybody out there to just watch some of these movies. In fact, I will, at the end of this video, I will have a list of the movies, the Elvis Presley movies that you really just have to see. And judge for yourself, honestly. Because this man had a remarkable talent. He had a remarkable, just a natural acting ability. And if you watch if you watch Love Me Tender, which was his first movie, he's very green in that. And there are some scenes where he overreacts or overacts, and you can just tell that he's green. He's never done this before. He's very nervous. But you can also, underneath all of that, just see the natural acting ability that this man had. And I can only imagine, because I wasn't alive back then, but I can only imagine audiences in 1956 watching Love Me Tender and just knowing that something special was going to come out of Elvis in the movies. And it's very unfortunate that didn't end up happening just because of how his career was mismanaged. But that's all I wanted to talk to you about this week. I just really would encourage you, watch some of these movies and just judge for yourself. The movies, most of the movies are bad. They're not good. They're not bad, okay? But they're not special. They're just Elvis movies. But look beyond that and just watch, because even in some of the bad movies, he just really, obviously, there are times that many of these movies he just didn't want to do. And by the time 1968 came around and he was getting out of his movie contract, he didn't want to do them anymore. Elvis's movie career soured him on the entire acting path. And he never made another movie again after 1968, which was unfortunate. But I think that's because of the movies themselves. And Elvis also knew that they were garbage. So there are times watching the movies, yeah, he's definitely phoning it in. But then there are other scenes where, even in the movies where he's phoning it in, some scenes he just really gives his all. And it's really a beautiful sight to behold. Honestly, watching Elvis act, and really, really act, not just say the lines, not just collect a paycheck, because he did a lot of that, but watching Elvis really passionately pour his soul into a character, honestly, it's a beautiful thing. So definitely leave your comments in the comments section below. If you're an Elvis fan, if you're a fan of Elvis movies, I definitely want to hear from you. If you don't like Elvis movies at all, I definitely want to hear from you too. Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. Now, for those of you that are interested, these are my top 5 Elvis movies. These are the Elvis movies that, as an Elvis fan, or even as just a movie fan, that you need to watch. These are the movies that that really, really showcase Elvis's acting ability. And I've already mentioned them all, but just for the sake of organization, here's a list. Those movies are Love Me Tender, Loving You, Jailhouse Rock, Charo, and Change of Habit. Those are the top 5 for me, the top 5 Elvis movies, and they're required viewing for any fan of Elvis movies. Oh, I forgot one. Follow That Dream. Follow That Dream is another really just, Elvis really turned in a great performance in that movie. And there's little singing in it, very little. It does exist, but there's very little singing in it. But that was based on a novel called Pioneer Go Home. And it's just a really, again, a really, really good movie. So I forgot that. That's my top. Put that in the top 5 and make it a top 6, because that's definitely a required film. Now, as a little bonus, here are some of the other movies that you can check out if you've never seen an Elvis movie, to give you a kind of an idea of what the standard Elvis movie was. Definitely Viva Las Vegas, Blue Hawaii, Easy Come, Easy Go is a good one. Spin Out is a good one. And It Happened at the World's Fair is a good one. Now, It Happened at the World's Fair, keep an eye out in that one, because you'll see a kid who kicks Elvis in the knee. That kid is Kurt Russell, which is amazing because Kurt Russell would go on to have, obviously, a thriving acting career himself, but he would go on in 1979. He played Elvis in a movie called Elvis, directed by John Carpenter. And then in 2001, he played a bank robber or a casino robber who was an Elvis impersonator. He robbed a casino dressed as Elvis. Kurt Russell, he's the only actor ever to be in a movie with Elvis, to play Elvis in a movie, and to play an Elvis impersonator in a movie. And I think that's just wonderful for him. And it's wonderful for audiences as well, because Kurt Russell's a phenomenal actor. I really, really, really do hope that you check out some of the Elvis movies that I mentioned. They're really phenomenal movies. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.